a powerful text from the Old Testament about journey, about life that gets stuck. And I'm sure we will all resonate with this story and maybe find some grace as we listen to the text. Between a rock and a hard place. Is it okay to say that this is an American slang or something? Is it? Idiom? Yeah. And and every culture, country have an idiom such as this, which basically, essentially means that that problem is such, is huge. Or some kids will say, it is just monstrous or even gigantic, right? That's what sometimes our kids will say. So when the problem is humongous, beyond your comprehension, that is when you say, I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place. Situations such as that could be negative or positive as well. But you feel a sense of caught between, unable to decide and make the next move. Does it make sense? Here's a story. I was 6. I had another friend who was a little older than me, a little more braver than me. And one day we decided to climb up our neighbor's house and to the corrugated tin roof house. We were on the roof. It was an adventurous, we did without thinking it, but we had fun doing it, and we got stuck on the roof. Some of our older friends who saw us getting stuck on the roof told us, jump off the roof. And if you don't jump right now, we are going to put twigs around your landing. And so that was even more scarier for me. But my friend who was older than me, he just ran across it, jumped off the roof to a little garden type place. And I was not brave enough. I chickened out, and I just couldn't do it. And by this time, our older friends, as a joke, they just brought a lot of stuff in. They were literally planting twigs, like something poking out from the ground. And I just couldn't do it. I just felt I was literally very much so stuck on the roof. And I had to wait until the afternoon time when my older brother can come. And he did come, and he just stretched his hand and he yanked me down. So that is my getting stuck in a hard place. And I don't know if you have any of those kinds of cute stories to share, but I'm sure during coffee hour you can share your getting stuck in those hard places. Children of Israel were stuck in Egypt, right? If you go back to the book of Exodus, if you brought your Bible with you, or if there's one nearby you, in Exodus, second book in the Old Testament, to your left, we find Exodus. And in chapter 1, we read a very, very interesting, sickening story about children of Israel getting stuck in Egypt. It says that, let's look at verse 11. Chapter 1, verse 11. Therefore they set taskmasters over them to oppress them with forced labor. Their condition, their situation was so bad. Look at verse 13. The Egyptians became ruthless in imposing tasks on the Israelites and made their lives bitter with hard services in mortar and brick and in every kind of field work. They were ruthless in all the tasks that they imposed on them. So the situation don't sound that great, is it? You know, situation looks very awful. Stuck between a rock and a hard place. Now, you know, God goes all kinds of ways to bring somebody to intervene and to lead, to redeem, and to rescue his people to freedom, right? Now, if you go to chapter 3, Exodus chapter 3, and look at verse 7. Verse 7. Upon God's call to Moses, he says, this is the mission, this is the purpose. I have observed the misery of my people who are in Egypt. I have heard their cry on account of their taskmasters. Indeed, I know their sufferings, and I have come down to deliver them from the Egyptians and to bring them up out of that land to a good and broad land, a land flowing with milk and honey, to the country of Canaan. These people were truly stuck between a rock and a hard place. But you know, their deliverance, their journey was not any better. Because we all know journey is rough. And so in chapter 17 we see another story about these redeemed, delivered people on a journey. Every time they were in need of something, whether it is water, meat, or food, they murmured, complained against Moses, right? And every time they complained, they reminded him, you just brought us out of Egypt with our family and livestock to kill us in the wilderness, aren't you? Right? That's the kind of constant complaint they made to Moses. And that is what we see in this particular text, chapter 17 as well. In Rephidim, they were thirsty. Now, when you are thirsty and hungry, sometimes even us, we become vicious, right? We want them now, you know, and you know, some of us raise kids, and sometimes kids tend to say that as well. And you know, can't wait another hour or another minute or until we get home. No, it has to be now. And they get mad, they get angry. And that is what we see in this text, that the children of Israel had absolutely no patience with God or with Moses. They wanted the water now, right now, and there was a quarrel. When you demand something and when you cannot give something at that time, at that moment, quarrel occurs, right? And so that is what we see. And Moses, being God's, Yahweh's messenger, he just returns back to God. God, you know, these people you gave me, these people that you told me to deliver, they are complaining. They want water now. What do I do? In fact, if I wait 5 minutes more, they're going to stone me to death. The situation is so horrible. It is not funny. What am I supposed to do? Right? That's what Moses says to God. And of course, God just says, you know, just go in front of the people. Walk in front of the people. Be courageous. Be brave. Be brave enough to lead. Go. And then you have the staff with you. The one you used when the soldiers, Pharaoh's soldiers, were in chariots coming against you, and in front of you was Red Sea. And I told you to raise the staff and strike it. What happened? The water departed. Do you still have that? Of course, I'm making up the stories right now. I'm just adding some things in it so that we wrestle with it. And so, yes, okay, use it. See that rock? An impossible scenario. When you are thirsty, you know, you don't want to see a rock. You don't want to argue with a rock. You don't want to tempt a rock to give you water, right? Impossible situation. And we all, sometime in our lives, get into those kinds of situations. You know, when you are talking even to the rock. And God said to Moses, you have the staff, use it, strike the rock.